YouTube. Today we're going to try a different format. I'm going to do a split screen of myself and of the selection that we're going to read. So you can see that for today, July 30th, 1775, there were four documents, two letters to John Adams, one from Abigail Adams, his wife, and the other to James Warren. And then there was general orders and George Washington to James Warren. So two letters to James Warren. Now, we're going to read all four of these because they're all relatively short. So to begin, let's start with general orders. General orders for July 30th, 1775 were the following. Headquarters Cambridge, countersigned Dublin. Parole Essex. William Tudor, Esquire, being appointed Judge Advocate of the Continental Army, he is in all things relative to his office to be acknowledged and obeyed as such. The drummers and fifers of the regiment in and about Cambridge are to be ordered constantly to attend the drum and fife major at the usual hours for instruction. Okay, so there you go. Okay, now let's go to the first. Let's stick with George Washington for a second and read his letter to James Warren on the 30th of July. Now let's talk about who was James Warren. Let's just Google that real quick. James Warren, 1775. James Warren was a politician. He was an American merchant, Speaker of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, and an advocate for colonial resistance in the American Revolution. And he was the paymaster general during the Revolutionary War for the Continental Army. Okay, so he was he served the provincial. Joseph Warren was killed at Bunker Hill, so he took over after Joseph Warren was killed. And was he a delegate to the Continental Congress? I don't think so. Didn't say so. No, I guess not. So he was delegate to the first Massachusetts Provincial Congress, and he served on the Provincial Congress after Joseph Warren was killed, but he didn't go to the Continental Congress. Yeah. Right. There were only 5 delegates from Massachusetts that went to the Continental Congress. Let me see if I can remember. Elbridge Gerry, John Hancock. I don't know what that bubble is. Okay. That was strange. Elbridge Gerry, John Hancock, the two Adamses, John Adams and his cousin Sam Adams. And then who was the fourth or the fifth? I'm not sure. Maybe leave a comment in the below. Who was the fifth delegate from Massachusetts? Would it have been Paine? Yeah, maybe it was Paine. Thomas Paine. Okay, there you go. So James Warren, anyway, coming back to this, James Warren was the Speaker of the Massachusetts House of Representatives. So, okay. And we've read several letters. I've read several letters of his to and from him and the other delegates, and various people in this story. So you can scroll back through my previous videos and hear me read letters from and to James Warren. I remember his letter about the battles of Bunker Hill and Charlestown were very poignant, very sad. So, okay, let's read this letter. To James Warren, Camp at Cambridge, July 30th, 1775. Sir, I have considered the application made me yesterday from the General Court with all the attention due to the situation of the people in whose behalf it is made, and the respect due such a recommendation. Upon referring to my instructions and consulting with those members of Congress who are present, as well as the general officers, they all agree that it would not be consistent with my duty to detach any part of the Army now here on any particular provincial service. It has been debated in Congress and settled that the militia or other internal strength of each province is to be applied for defense against those small and particular depredations which were to be expected, and to which they were supposed to be competent. This will appear the more proper when it is considered that every town, and indeed every part of our seacoast which is exposed to these depredations, would have an equal claim upon this army. It is the misfortune of our situation which exposes us to these ravages, against which, in my judgment, no such temporary relief would possibly secure us. The great advantage the enemy has of transporting troops by being masters of the sea will enable them to harass us by diversions of this kind, and should we be tempted to pursue them upon every alarm, the army must either be so weakened as to expose it to destruction, or a great part of the coast will be still left unprotected. Nor indeed does it appear to me that such a pursuit would be attended with the least effect. The first notice of such an incursion would be its actual execution, and long before any troops could reach the scene of action, the enemy would have an opportunity to accomplish their purpose and retire. It would give me great pleasure to have it in my power to extend protection and safety to every individual, but the wisdom of the General Court will anticipate me in the necessity of conducting our operations on a general and impartial scale, so as to exclude any first cause of complaint and jealousy. I beg, sir, you will do me the honor to communicate these sentiments to the General Court and to apologize for my involuntary delay, as we were alarmed this morning by the enemy and my time taken up with giving the necessary directions. I shall be happy in every opportunity of showing my very great respect and regard for the General Court of Massachusetts Bay, and am, sir, your most obedient and very humble servant, George Washington. So there you go. Some interesting footnotes. I'm not going to read these, but you can pause the video here and read them yourself. I'll just scan them quickly to see if there's anything particularly worth looking at. Reported verbal counsel later. Okay, first expectation from the sea and the coast. Okay. 18th of July, Congress recommended forming both regular companies of militia and companies of Minutemen for local defense, and urged that each colony at their own expense make such provision by armed vessels or otherwise as their respected. Okay, so etc. etc. Regiment wrote in his journal that night. Last night, 12 o'clock, a party of General Washington's riflemen crept within the regulars' sentries, but being discovered were fired upon, which occasioned a skirmish between them and the regulars' main guard. Between the hours of 12 and 1 o'clock we had an alarm, and we were all paraded, and there was an immediate cry for volunteers to follow such officers as would head them, when all our company marched out to follow the officers wherever they went, and some part of every company in the regiment. We marched up into the fort and were ordered to ground our arms and wait for orders. The alarm was occasioned by the regulars entrenching upon Charleston Common. The intent of the volunteers was to go down and beat them off, But upon further consideration, the generals thought it not prudent to proceed, they being under cover of their cannon upon Bunker's Hill and the floating batteries and the ships. The generals ordered us to return and be ready at a moment's warning. Okay, so I guess that was what General Washington was referring to when he said he had to give orders. Great. All right, let's move on to the next letter to James Warren. From John Adams to James Warren. And we'll continue with the theme of acknowledging James Warren here. Let's see. Can I get it to zoom properly? There we go. Okay. John Adams to James Warren, 30th of July, 1775, Philadelphia. And thanks again for, watching this. This is a new format for me, so I'm just getting used to it, and hopefully we'll get better at it. Dear Sir, for the honor of the Massachusetts, I have labored in conjunction with my brethren to get you chosen Paymaster General, and succeeded so well that the choice was unanimous. But whether we did you a kindness or a disservice, I know not. And whether you can attend it or will incline to attend it, I know not. You will consider it, however. Pray, who do you intend to make secretary of the province? Has not our friend deserved it? Is he not fit for it? Has any other candidate so much merit or so good qualifications? I hope his temporary absence will not injure him. This letter goes by my good friend, Mr. William Barrel, Mr. William Barrel, a worthy Bostonian transmuted into a worthy Philadelphian. All right. But whether you will grasp his letter or the hand that writes it first is uncertain, both about the same time, I hope. So, who was this? Oh, they were talking about Sam Adams. Undoubtedly Samuel Adams, who was elected permanent secretary on 10th of August, replacing Perez Morton, who served while Adams was in Philadelphia. Adams took up his duties on 15th of August, and etc., etc. Okay. Footnote number 2, William Barrel began business in Philadelphia about 2 years before his death as a representative of the Boston firm of Amory and Taylor. He was a brother-in-law of John Andrews, whose letters to Barrel describe Boston under siege, taken from a collection of Barrel's papers in Massachusetts Historical Society, have been published and blah, blah, blah. From brief sketch of Barrel, see same, etc. Okay, great. And now, finally, let us finish with John Adams to his wife, Abigail Adams, on 30th of July, 1775. My dear. I love these letters. Okay. My dear, this letter is intended to go by my friend, Mr. William Barrel, whom I believe you have seen in Boston. If he calls at our house, you will please to receive him complacently and thank him for your present of pins. I have been treated by him with great civility, both at this and the former Congress. This day I have heard my parish priest, Mr. Duffel, from 2 Chronicle 15, 1, 2. This gentleman never fails to adapt his discourse to the times. He pressed upon his audience the necessity of piety and virtue in the present times of adversity, and held up to their view the army before Boston as an example. He understood, he said, that the voice of the swearer was scarcely heard, that the Sabbath was well observed, and all immoralities discountenanced. Let me try to read that again. He understood, he said, that the voice of the swearer was scarcely heard, that the Sabbath was well observed, and all immoralities discountenanced. No doubt there were vicious individuals, but the general character was good. I hope this good man's information is true, and that this will become more and more the true character of that camp. You may well suppose that this language was exceedingly pleasing to me. We have nothing new but the arrival of some powder. 3 little vessels have certainly arrived, making about 10 tons in the whole, and 4 or 5 tons have arrived from South Carolina. A supply I think now we shall certainly obtain. Congress have taken measures for this end, which I hope to have the pleasure of explaining to you in person within a few days, as Congress has determined to adjourn to sometime in September. I could not vote for this myself because I thought it might be necessary to keep together, but I could not blame those who did, for really we have been all so assiduous in business in this exhausting, debilitating climate that our lives are more exposed than they would be in camp. Love to the children. And there's a footnote here. On Saturday, 29th of July, it was, quote, resolved that this Congress will, as soon as the public business permits, adjourn to the 5th of September next. Samuel Adams gave the following explanation to his wife the next day. Well, we just read that. Oh, I guess it's slightly different. The arduous business that has been before the Congress and the close application of the members, adding to the necessity and importance of their visiting their several colonies and attending their respective conventions, have induced them to make a recess during the sultry month of August. Yeah, and we still sort of follow that, don't we? According to the Journal, Congress adjourned on 1st of August, but it is clear from the letters and diaries of certain members that some business was transacted the following morning. John Adams probably set off from Philadelphia later the same day, though possibly not until the 3rd. There is no record of his return trip, but he traveled very fast, for he arrived in Watertown on the morning of the 10th and plunged at once as a member of the council into the work of the general court. Abigail Adams did not learn until the 11th that he was back in Massachusetts. Wow. Okay. Yeah. There you go. He sometimes, I get the sense, neglected his wife. But he was a busy man, right? So. All right. I hope that was interesting. If you like this new format, please let me know in the comments. Let me know if you like seeing my face as I read. And we'll continue doing this going forward. So we'll try this new format for a little while and see if it works out. I'll get better and better at doing this. And yeah, thank you. Please leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed this reading. And until tomorrow, yeah, well, I guess, I hope you have a good one. All right, bye. Now, I have to figure out how to end this video. Okay, bye.